everyone. Welcome to the first Outlast pod. My name's Alex. I'm the host and producer of Outlast, as you may or may not know from Voice Alone. And I am joined by the most important member of my crew.
Oh. That's me. I'm Jen. I am the support to the host of Outlast.
So, yeah, what we're doing here is I kind of have this idea to, as we go through the season, week by week or at the time at which stuff comes out, we'll release each episode, and I think it'd be a good idea to kind of release a companion pod here too, where Jen and I can talk through some, behind the scenes stuff of what went into production of each individual episode. Some analysis, deep dive type stuff. If you are in the market for even more Outlast. So this is the first one that we're recording right now, and that will ultimately hit whatever feed these end up in. And I imagine that it will probably come out before any of the actual finished episodes do. Just trying to scry into the orb of the future right now and determine that. But we never know what we have in store. But that's kind of the thought here. So yeah, here's our first developer behind the scenes backstage episode of the Outlast companion pod. And then as we get into the season, it'll be more focused on each episode. But I thought it'd be a cool idea to start with some stuff before we even record. So we're here. This is July 1st. We're about 2 months away from Outlast filming, and we're about, maybe 3-4 months into prep for that. What would you say? We probably started around the new year?
Yeah, except that you've been thinking about this for a long time. So I feel like It's been, running around in your brain for a bit. But I think we should step back a little bit. I think we missed an important moment of any podcast, which is the intro music after you've introduced yourself. So I feel like cue... It's like you could put that in there.
Yeah, we could. That's an idea for sure. We'll just put what you just did in.
Oh,
instead.
Great. Thank you. On loop.
Yeah. So Outlast, of course, is a weekend-long social strategy game that is pretty heavily influenced and based off of Survivor. And so, maybe the best place to start is to talk about, why we're even doing such a thing. Again, we're a couple months before production starts. We've been doing a lot of prep. There's plenty of prep still to come, but this is a thing that I, as obviously a huge fan of the show, it's kind of a dream. It's not the first time I've done something like this, producing and hosting kind of a amateur Survivor cut down game. It was several years ago. I worked with high schoolers, and we did this as a part of programming for them. So it was 14 to 18 year olds doing this last time, and now we've got fully formed, well, at least more fully formed adult humans doing it this time, which I'm excited for. The kids did a great job the first time we did it, but obviously there's a cap there as far as what you can expect. And so in my past career, I did video production. I like project of this scale is pretty daunting, but also pretty exciting and satisfying to work on and complete. And so, to be able to, think through the facilitation of a game like Survivor, to be able to, breathe it into life, and then to be able to put it all together for, folks playing to experience, and then for, everybody else out there to watch, is pretty exciting, dream level stuff for me. So really, really grateful for the support of, all sorts of people who are pitching in to help make this happen. So like you mentioned, it's a long time coming, and that it was maybe 6, 7, 8 years since we did this last, again with students, and I've kind of wanted to do it again with adults ever since. Cool. So let's talk about maybe what the game consists of. So again, this is for folks who have played at this point. By the time it comes out, will have played over the weekend. This, or for folks who are pretty familiar with Survivor, you'll have a good understanding. But imagine, the structure, the rules, the flow of Survivor condensed from a month down to a weekend, right? So you lose by getting voted out. You win by getting the most jury votes at the end. And then the details are in greater depth from there. But we have a place that we can facilitate and shoot this. We've got enough, volunteer help to make it happen. And the format and games are going to be really similar to what you would expect from Survivor, but obviously at a extremely scaled back level. I think that, but even so, tried to model as much of it off of the show as we can. Of course, as fans and appreciators of the show. I don't know, anything to add?
Yeah, we aren't going to have any giant creatures or large balls that they have to move.
Yeah, no big heavy snakes.
Or we're not going to, see who doesn't drown first in the pond.
Yeah.
So
I did tell Adam, who's a friend of mine who's playing, I saw him over the weekend at the time that we recorded this, and told him that we are bringing back the strap people to a water wheel and dip them into the water for them to suck up water and then spit it into a canister challenge. So
yeah, everyone will be signing a waiver or two before the weekend.
It is true. They actually will, but nothing will be in, at that level of intensity.
Yeah, and I think Survivor, in a lot of ways, you think of these huge challenges and these really big builds, but at the core of it, it's just obstacle course to throwing something that becomes a carnival game or a puzzle.
Yep.
Or it's standing on something very small for a long period of time.
Right.
So it's easy to, in some ways, create your own challenges off of that, because you just have to create some sort of barrier and then a puzzle or carnival game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the beyond the challenges, then it's I don't know. What I love about Survivor and why I've continued watching it for the better part of my life at this point is I think the social strategy game is, truly second to none. I've said this plenty of times. I, hosted a Survivor pod in the past, but like the basic premise of the end game being it's just whoever has other competitors vote for them the most is such a genius but novel choice. It's not like who gets the best judges score, who gets the most people to call in and vote for them. It's like, and the jury doesn't even have strict guidelines upon which they have to choose a winner. It's totally subjective, which may be frustrating to some, but I think is great. And so, in doing something like this, really what I would love, what I want to capture and, get to bear witness to and create is that same sort of basic premise that Survivor starts with, which is what happens when you take a group of people who don't know each other, put them in, a circumstance and, let the game play out where you've got to create trust, make alliances, betray trust, further yourself, all the while doing so in a way that doesn't make everybody else in the game hate you so much that they will never vote for you to win, right? It's like a perfect, delicate balance that it takes to win. And so I'm really excited to see how that all plays out for Outlast and how people, play in that space, I guess.
I think something that's been really exciting as we move into where we're at now with Outlast is I think as we have been planning and thinking, I was concerned that the entire cast would be built out of just our friends, family, and it's really cool to see that there are a bunch of strangers. There are, we'll dive into this another time, but there's some overlap from friend groups, but for the most part, there's even people on the cast that are new to us that I'm sure will become friends, but it's exciting to see that, even we're going to be surprised and have that kind of element within the weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, totally felt the same way. Like the problem of, okay, how do we, the imagined problem of how do we separate tribes in such a way that like a whole group of people and their buddies aren't, don't have these pre-existing friendships that they get to ride out in the game is almost a non-issue. Yeah, because there's so many people who are not previously connected to each other. There's probably only a handful that would even know each other prior to playing. Yeah, and it's, part of the process here, right, was starting with the people that we do know and saying like, hey, we're doing this thing. Are you interested in it? But then if you're not, like, think about some folks that that might be, and so you've got these friends of friends that are, signing up to play. And yeah, it really exciting, such that I don't think anybody's really going to have an advantage going into it because they're more socially connected ahead of time, which is how it should be. Like when you're trying to put a game together like this. So yeah, really, really exciting and pretty wide open spaces, I think, for people to play in.
Speaking of wide open spaces to play in, we are hosting
some Dixie Chicks.
Yeah. I think they're just the chicks now.
Yeah. Okay.
So we are having the weekend at my family's cabin in southern Indiana. And I'm pretty excited to actually get to use all that space. And it's been fun. We've been, as we go there on weekends with family, walking around, imagining where is tribal going to be? Where are the camps going to be? All of the details that go into planning. So it's been really helpful to have that space and be able to go there kind of on the regular and scope it out and prep
Yeah. Yeah, fun to dream it up as we go. Yeah, we've got a pretty good handle on the location at this point and where everything's going to be. So I'm just thinking through if there's any other. So we're I don't know what 15 minutes into this at this point. What we're talking about today is just some of this behind the scenes and introductory stuff, right? Like what we're doing, why we're doing it, the broad format of the game, and then to kind of give, maybe this is the most interesting part, but some, I don't know, insight into what we've done to this point. Again, it's July 1st. Outlast takes place the first weekend of September, so we've got 2 months until that happens, but a lot of the groundwork's been laid already. So I'm just scrolling through the rules doc that I have here and seeing if there is anything that bears mention without, spoiling anything as far as the distinct format goes. We'll have, your survivor trappings of things like hidden immunity idols. I'm really excited for the plan that we have for the idols. Again, when this comes out, it'll be after the players have played, but as a viewer, don't want to spoil you on what may happen. But yeah, we've thought a lot about how we want to handle hidden immunity idols. Again, as somebody who is, I hesitate to say a student of the game of Survivor, but somebody who, cares a lot about it and it means a lot to them. It's like the way of course, if you're a fan or a viewer of Survivor, there's times where the idols and the advantages create like really satisfying electric moments and times where they can feel pretty frustrating and random and unearned, right? So, trying to strike a good balance of introducing them into the game as a tool to be used alongside the social strategy of players, but not letting them be a crutch or a total get out of jail free situation. Nobody wants a situation where it's impossible to track where everything is because there's so many in the game and they do so many different complex things. So you can kind of expect us to veer towards the simpler side. But the challenge of it then too is that, of course, we're playing in an area that is, a tiny fraction of the size of the area that they play in on Survivor, right? So it's way easier to hide something successfully over a larger landmass, right?
Over the island of Fiji.
Yeah, the Mamanuca Islands, as opposed to, I don't know, a little patch of land that we've got sort of roped off. So thinking about how to hide these creatively in such a way that somebody's not just going to stumble upon them, or if they do stumble upon them, they might not know that it's a thing they should be looking for. Hint, hint, maybe. So yeah, really excited for the way that the idols that we've thought them up, and hopefully they play out well. I think another thing with that too is, again, when I did this 7 years ago or whatever it was, ran into a situation where, again, that game was played really well. I was so stoked with how it came out. Both of the idols were found pretty much right off the rip because they were just kind of, I don't know, hidden in a small area, easy to find. And then they were just kind of sat on for most of the game, right? Not really played. So trying to think of ways to encourage people who do find them to actually utilize them in such a condensed version of the game where you've got to think more quickly. Maybe it becomes harder to pull the trigger, but again, we've thought through those sorts of things, and hopefully they play out well.
And some other things that we've thought through with this is when they start the game, they'll be given a bag so that, anything they need to carry or collect. They have a space to hold that, no one has to shove it down their pants if they find an idol. Additionally, more recently, you've brought up the thought and idea of, going, quote unquote, to the water well.
Right.
And how that's an opportunity in Survivor to, it's kind of hidden language to say, let's go talk.
Yeah.
To go find wood or go to the water well or get tree mail. And so we've kind of tossed around and discussed how do we do that in this scenario where we do have a lot of space, but pretty limited space to make sure that they're not, going to the water well doesn't mean tribes are intersecting or being able to hear or talk to one another while also not getting in the way of the next build of the challenge. Or just additionally, we have a ton of great people who have offered up their time to volunteer, but they're still limited numbers as far as having the ability for them to be all over the place. So it has to still be strategic as where we place those. So it's just kind of getting creative and hoping that the players are also creative and have kind of the thought going into it to bring that kind of strategy and be willing to, let people go off and have conversations and encourage that.
I had two thoughts in response to what you're saying. One with the bag is a rule that I actually instituted that I don't know if I think that Survivor should do this. Maybe I do. I'd have to think on it more. But your bag is like a safe space. Like, people can't go through other people's bags in Outlast. The reason being that practically, people might actually have important stuff in their bags, like if they need medication or whatever. But then also, like you said, I don't love the idea of people having to, hide idols on their person in challenging ways. Like, just put it in your bag and that's off limits and safe, right? Because, just an element that I don't think we need in the game on strict timelines and limited space. And then, the other thing about, going to get water, tree mail, whatever, it's like these are all things that, are built into the kind of fabric of Survivor that, like you said, they provide the reasons to go, have conversations or to, have a social moment with someone, that when we're, again, keep coming back to it, but on such an accelerated timeline, when you've got 2 hours between votes instead of 2 days, everything is going to be much more impactful conversation to conversation, right? And so we want to create opportunities for people to be able to have those conversations more, I don't know, not easily necessarily, but more naturally. Whereas, again, a thing last time we did this that we learned from is when you're just kind of sitting at camp, it becomes hard to break off into smaller groups without a reason, without it being awkward or challenging. So all things that we're trying to think creatively and proactively about to make the game flow well. I think, and again, as we go through this episode by episode, we can talk through the relevant points of the things that are impactful in that episode, and I'm sure we'll hit on some rules and format stuff at that point. You want to talk through some of the stuff that we've done up to this point?
Sure. Yeah. Building kind of a big spreadsheet, master spreadsheet of all of the lists of builds and the items that we need to purchase, and all of those things have been completed, and you've done a really great job with.
Yeah, I think like step one, at least for me, was putting together some sort of like rundown game plan, right? To have an idea of, okay, how would I want the flow to go, and then kind of from that build out sort of rough plans for challenges. Again, always trying to think of ways to stay budget friendly and pare down from your standard Survivor challenges, but still kind of do homage to them. And then once that was in place, you can start from building out from there, right? Like, okay, to make this happen, we need these materials, we need to purchase these things. Thinking about the stuff that we need from like a practical level. We're providing little bags for everyone. There's buffs, things like water coolers,
a portable toilet.
Yeah. No aqua dumps on Outlast.
Yeah, gross.
And so, from a practical perspective, a lot of that stuff. And then the other biggest, even bigger hurdle, I would say, is the like people side of it, with recruiting to play and to volunteer, because it is, a large undertaking. Need plenty of hands. I think we have like 10 volunteers altogether that are helping out with either production or other volunteer activities. And then we've got 16 players. And so, have to find 25 plus people who are in for this sort of thing is kind of a tall order. So, yeah, like we had kind of mentioned before, starting with just people we know and like social media, and branching out from there. And it's like, it really is interesting, the like final group that we have here, and kind of the wide spread nature of who we ended up with. But then from there, like as anybody who's playing can contest or can attest, making sure to keep tabs on folks, make sure that they're still committed. There's checkpoints along the way, right? We've had people like sign up for where they're going to stay, and I'm going to have them submit more information about themselves for us to share with the production team, so that they can get an idea of who's playing before we get out there, so that when we're talking to each other and I say, hey, X person found an idol or whatever, they know who that is, and all of that. So a lot of organization and communication people wise too. And yeah, that's been fun as well, to start like imagining tribe breakdowns, to start slotting volunteers into certain slots, things of that nature.
As the arts department director, I haven't started yet, but we'll need to soon kind of start doing some of the decor. But we did a couple days ago, purchase the tribe flags.
Yeah.
We got the buffs in. So that felt really exciting, and kind of...
Buffs are really cool, yeah. Of all the things that we've gotten in, definitely the most like, all right, here we go. Like, this is feeling pretty legit.
That and the pen for...
Yeah, the pen is cool. Yeah. Got a, replica voting pen.
The fanciest Sharpie that we've ever purchased.
Yes.
Some parchment paper. Or...
Yeah. Yeah, all sorts of stuff. Big Amazon packages there for a week or so, with everything that came in. I don't know how interesting it is to pull open our list here and talk through some of the things that we've knocked out, maybe some of the higher level things. a lot of pricing stuff out. Yeah, we've been able to stay within budget to this point, and I think we will stay in. We got asked an entry fee for all of the players so that we can take this on without incurring too much of the cost ourselves. So a lot of price setting and budgeting. Building out the rule sheet was a pretty fun task in that, getting to put out of brain and into paper what are effectively the rules of Survivor with like some slight modifications, like things that I could like probably tell you if you asked me, but I've never thought to write it all down. So it was cool. I had some help kind of proofreading and going over it to make sure that everything makes sense and isn't unclear. So, any future folks who might want to do something like this, I'm happy to share the rules doc if anybody like that is listening. We can talk about registration a little bit too. I opened up a Google form, asked a bunch of questions. A lot of them are just affirmations that, this weekend works, you're willing to pay the fee, you're going to commit to it, and then get some basic information about them, how to contact them, obviously for me, but then had them answer some really basic, sort of CBS cast bio type questions about, why they want to play, why they think they'd win, if they don't win, why it would be, etc. Which is, we'll go in greater detail on these next week when we'll kind of do a cast breakdown, but some fun and insightful answers there. And then from there, it's mostly just been gathering materials. We still have quite a bit to do, mainly building the stuff, and then some of these finer detailed points of, preparation for the production. Again, some of these like details, things like food for everyone, logistical details, things of that nature.
I was thinking about this the other day or maybe today, that I am in charge of food, and in our household, I haven't cooked. I cooked eggs today.
Yeah.
So, but I haven't cooked a real meal in quite some time. But yeah. I imagine I'll pull through, and...
Well, you'll have help.
Yeah, and I'm not completely incompetent. It's just not my thing.
No, it's just... And for the context here, it's time to lean upon your Midwest roots and just make casseroles.
Yeah.
And...
yeah. That's really all
sandwiches.
I was taught,
Yeah.
So I think I can pull that out.
Yeah.
Really good at making a sandwich.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah. Good point. I have made you a peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah, I'm sure you have. I can't recall a moment when you have, but I'm sure it's happened.
In most recent history, I took the Uncrustable out of the freezer and put it in the fridge for you.
Yeah.
So you're welcome.
Michelin stars for
yeah.
for your work. Yeah, maybe after this we'll do a Top Chef weekend competition instead.
Yeah.
Would actually be really fun. I've wanted to do like a Chopped style thing for a long time with friends.
Yeah, we wanted to do that during like COVID. Yeah. But we could never quite figure out how to do it safely.
Yeah, logistically it is kind of weird because unless you're gonna rent out or have a plug for like a commercial kitchen or an industrial kitchen, it's kind of you have to do it, or if you all like happen to live in the same apartment building, it just doesn't really work. Anyway, we've gone far afield. Okay, I think that's good. I think we did it. Let me open this list back up. Let's end with this. And I'll ask you first, Jen. What are some things that as we approach the filming of Outlast, again, we're going to film in September. I have no idea when episodes are going to start going out because it's been a really long time since I've edited a project anywhere close to this magnitude. So it may take me a long time. But as we approach the filming, and we'll at least get to see, firsthand how everything goes down, what are some things that you're hoping to see in the gameplay and in the, the finished product or the story of it?
Yeah. I hope to see the players really jump in right away, because it is going to be a quick game. And so I think it's going to be important and crucial that they jump right in and move as fast as you can, still thoughtfully. Yeah. I think is kind of my hope, is that they're able to kind of break into it and get into it right away. I think that will be a little bit easier. I anticipate a little bit easier going in with adults this time than with teenagers.
Yeah.
Where, everyone kind of knows going in, this is kind of a silly little thing, but also everyone's really invested and excited. Mm-hmm. And so that everyone's bought in. And so it's a little easier when, you're not hormonal and 16 right. and playing with your, youth group crush or something. Yeah. So that I'm like hopeful and looking forward to seeing how they navigate that.
Yeah.
I'm also interested knowing some of the people that I do know in the cast, seeing how they interact. We have our winner picks kind of in mind, or thoughts, without even really knowing. So seeing, the people who we don't really know, who we've never met, how do they interact? How does that, kind of that wild card
right.
play into it all? So I'm hopeful that there are a few surprises, a few blind sides, some really good strategy.
Yeah.
And overall that people just have a lot of fun with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, the speed of it is a good point, and that, even just like in texting the players a little bit here before we've started, like, people are almost to a person, like, really taking this seriously. Like, there is like nerves about it, right? Mm-hmm. Like, there's people who have said like, oh, I need to start going back to the gym, to like do this. And so, and like, people who are, as we'll talk about next time, like, this is by no means Survivor or close to it, but it's about as close as statistically everybody here is ever going to get to playing, right? And just about everybody here, that's like a dream for them. And so, yeah, people are, as I would be too, like, afraid to do bad, mm-hmm. and I think they'll catch on to the pace of it and not go down without a fight. People are savvy enough, I think, to understand, like, man, I'm not hearing much. I need to go make something happen, right?
Yeah.
But again, yeah, it's kind of the ultimate change between this and what you see on the TV is like how fast everything is going to have to move. You're having, 5 to 10 conversations before a tribal council instead of, 50 to 100 over the course of a day or two, right? Yeah. I really want to see what I hope for most, as far as like any one big thing, is I hope that there's like one of those big moments at some point in the game, hopefully late in the game, where, you can build up to it knowing that this is going to be like a crescendo, and then it happens, and it's one of those like really satisfying, stunning things, whether it's, an idle play or somebody's flipping or a big lie that gets told really successfully or something. Again, like last time we did this, there was this great the story that kind of built up was a player who was on a tribe that lost a lot. We swapped on a new tribe that lost a lot. She kept surviving. So at the bottom of the numbers, gets an idol, blocks every vote against her, real Wentworth does not count sort of thing. And it was so cool. Like, I remember when it was happening, and selfishly, just like as the host, being like, realizing this is what's happening, and it's sick. Like, I really, really want to see something like that, because those are just so fun to experience firsthand and then to be able to tell the story of. And then, like what you said, ultimately, I just really hope that everybody who's comes out here for this, that this really is like a highlight for them, that this is a really fun, really cool experience. People have, I don't know, it's unrealistic to say everybody has a great time, because 15 people are going to lose at the end of the day, but that everybody has a really cool time. They're all grateful for doing it, and that maybe even there's friendships that form. Maybe people have personal breakthroughs on day 2, hour 12, where they come to realize something new about themselves. Probably not, because it's 48 hours instead of 30 days, but
hopefully no, like quarter life crises.
Cool. Okay, well, thanks for tuning in, especially if you've stuck with us this far. This is probably the least exciting of any of these episodes that we'll do, but kind of wanted to kick things off here and give some background info about the game, and we'll be back next time. There'll be a few of these that kind of pre-roll before the actual Outlast episodes are out. I don't know how many yet, but there'll at least be 2 or 3. And there may be even more than that. So wherever this is airing, it's probably on YouTube. Continue to check it out or subscribe or whatever. And there'll be more coming your way. And then hopefully before too long, you'll have the premiere of Outlast as well. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.